Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Varaha Swami ki jai. So we saw how even the demigods, they started to suspect why Varahadev was playing. Why was he not just killing Hiranyaksa? Why was he like, not immediately just smashing him? Some demigod thought, maybe Varahadev can't do this. Some other demigods knew well that, the Lord is just having a good time, a good fight. So he's like playing along. And I found that to be very relevant for us when things are happening in our lives. We wonder, is God even capable of helping me out of this situation? Or is he just testing me? Is he just playing with me? We often think, right? There's a faithful side within us which knows that whatever is happening is exactly meant for my growth. It's not happening to me, it's happening for me. We know that. The higher self knows that. And the lower self always doubts, thinking, I don't know if the Lord loves me or not. I don't know if the Lord is as great as it is told. And that happens because of our conditioning. When we are conditioned to think that when everything is going my way, then the Lord exists. When things are not going my way, then we think that, maybe the Lord is not in fact what claims to be, because it's not the way I want. So there's always this ego of a human being that makes us feel stuck. The faith of a human being depends very much on the level of ego we work on. That's why vulnerability, it opens doors for spiritual advancement. Because when we say humility, right? Humility, we need to be humble than a blade of grass. At the same time, humility is not just about, I'll do the menial things. I will appear to be, I'm nobody. I'll dress very simple. That's not humility. Humility is the ability to be vulnerable, to take help when needed. And humility is the ability to express our vulnerabilities in the right place, in the right time, and not to be proud. So this chapter, as I said the last 2 days, it can uplift our consciousness by revealing our weaknesses. Hiranyaksa represents our material desires, which false ego that keeps us in this world, and Varahadev can uplift our consciousness. So let us continue reading. Also, we saw how Hiranyaksha had his own righteousness. He didn't attack Varahadev when the weapon fell out of the hands of Varahadev. He waited. So then, the demigods are requesting, please finish him, finish him, finish him. Okay. Whoever likes, you can start reading from here, seeing Varahadev standing before him. Anybody wants to start reading?
Seeing Varahadev standing before him, disc in hand, the demon hissed like a serpent, biting his lip in rage. He glared at Varaha, as if to incinerate the Lord with his eyes. Slashing the air with his terrible tusk, he lunged forward with a mighty cry, "You are slain!" Hiranyaksha's mace came down on Varaha with the force of a tempest. The Lord casually deflected it with his left foot, and it spun harmlessly to the ground. Varaha said, "Take up your weapon and try again, eager as you are to conquer me." The demon snatched his mace and, roaring tremendously, hurled it at the Lord. Varaha caught the mace as easily as Garuda would seize a serpent. He sportingly offered it back to Hiranyaksa. Frustrated and humiliated, the demon shunned the perforated mace. Grimacing with concentration, he mystically summoned a flaming trident and flung it at the Lord. The trident sped through the sky like a fiery meteor. Varaha let fly his Sudarshan, smashing it to pieces in midair, and the blazing fragments dropped from the sky. Incensed, Hiranyaksa rushed at Varaha. He, he pummeled the Lord's broad chest with his iron-like fists. Then he vanished. Although ferociously stuck, Varaha felt no pain. Hiranyaksa's blows were like those of a child playing with his father. As dusk fell, the demon conjured various types of magic. The onlookers panicked, worried that the dissolution of the universe was high. Fierce winds blew from all directions. Dust clouds blackened the sky, covering the stars. Volleys of stones flew everywhere, as if discharged by machine guns. Flashes of lightning lit up the night sky, and thunder rumbled and cracked. Past blood, hair, stool, urine, and bones rained down violently. Mountains discharged missiles like trees and boulders. Naked witches with wild hair flew in the sky, armed with tridents. Hordes of murderous yakshas and rakshasas marching on foot or riding horses, elephants, and chariots attacked Varaha, shouting, "Kill him! Chop him up! Devour him!" Varaha again discharged the Sudarshan, dispelling the demon's mystical displays. At that very moment, in her hermitage, Diti's heart shuddered. Blood flowed from her breasts, and she remembered Kashyapa's prediction that Vishnu would kill her sons. On the battlefield, Hiranyaksa became enraged to see all his magic forces dispelled. Appearing before Varaha, he tried to grasp him in his sinewy arms, intent on crushing him to death. To his amazement, he found Varaha standing outside the circle of his arms. He tried repeatedly to clasp the Lord, but each time he was thwarted. Roaring with frustration, Hiranyaksa repeatedly punched Varaha. His blows sounded like thunder cracks, but Varaha was unmoved. He indifferently slapped. Where is it? Hiranyaksa repeatedly plunged his blow, but Varaha was unmoved. He indifferently slapped the demon at the base of his ear. Hiranyaksa wheeled, his eyeballs bulging, his arms and legs broken, his hair scattered. He fell down dead like a gigantic tree uprooted by the wind. The guards headed by Brahma crowded around the demon's dead body, which was glowing due to the Lord's touch. His carved tusk appeared frightening, and he still bit his lip. Brahma said, who could meet such a blessed death? He was stuck by the forefoot of the Lord, whom yogis seeking freedom from birth and death meditate upon in seclusion while gazing on Vishnu's countenance, his chest jewel of Diti's sons. This crest jewel of Diti's sons has cast off his mortal coil. Wow. Turning to the astonished gods and sages, Brahma reminded them Hiranyaksa and his brother Hiranyakashipu are Narayana's personal assistants. They took birth as demons because of Kumara's curse. After a few such births, they will return to their own positions in the spiritual sky. The gods and sages prayed, "We offer you all respect, dear Lord. Although you are the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices, you have come as the boar to save the universe. Your boar form is purely spiritual. It is fortunate for us that this demon who has tormented the world for a long time has now been slain. We, your devotees, are relieved."
Jai Keshavadrita Varaharupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Varaha Swami ki Jai Bhuvaraha Dev ki Jai. So, in the same manner, may Lord Varaha destroy the darkness of illusion that is casting our minds and that is making us come back again and again in this cycle of birth and death. keep coming back to this material world because of our illusions. So may Lord Varahadev vanquish all these illusions we have and restore our consciousness and save us. Let us offer our faithful prayers at the lotus feet of Lord Varahadev. Let's take a moment. Take a deep breath. Back straight. Relax your shoulders. Meditate on the beautiful form of Lord Varahadev. So powerful to release us from this cycle of birth and death. So merciful to uplift our consciousness and restore us to sanity. May Lord Varahadev protect our consciousness and give us the strength to do His will. Moon rays glistened on the lake water as it gently lapped against its banks. Tree silhouettes crowded the night sky, partially covering the canopy of stars. The fire crackled. Maitreya stretched his back and then said, after killing the formidable Hiranyaksa, the supreme lord, the origin of the boar species, returned to his own abode, where there is always an uninterrupted festival. The gods, headed by Brahma, continuously sang his praise. O Vidura, I have narrated this history exactly as I heard it from my own spiritual master. Okay, let's pause there. Any comments, any realizations?
It was very interesting for me to see like how the Lord was like playing with the demon, and then at last he kind of slayed him. I was thinking only for the like devotees, like he will test, and then when we are really having that purified consciousness, then he'll accept. But then it was interesting to know even for the demons, he was playfully doing the same thing.
Well, remember, he's also a devotee at the end of the...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because you remember Kalyavana, the story, Tarini, we were discussing last time, how the Lord wanted Kalyavan to believe that he had a chance, because he sent this bottle of a, Krishna sends a bottle of snake, poisonous snake in a jar as a, indication to Kalyavan. And what Kalyavan does, he puts red ants inside it and closes the jar. And immediately those red ants eat up the snake. And then Kalyavana feels like, oh my God, you see, I can defeat Krishna. And then he sends that jar back to Krishna. And it is described that Krishna purposefully did it to make this demon feel hope. Otherwise, what's the fun, right? If the demon immediately surrenders, if everybody says, oh, Krishna, you're the supreme, I'll never ever go against your will, it's not much fun for Krishna. He likes to kind of create some hope and then smash it. Oh, it happens to me all the time. Especially like in certain relationships. I feel, oh, maybe this time everything will be so different, and whatever, my friends, I must have improved. My parents will be more mature. whatever. There's always some sort of an expectation. And Krishna sometimes says, yeah. Get your hope up. Okay, no problem. And then later on is like one big squash. And then Krishna says, well, you see, material world, you can't find that. So are you now convinced? Do you now more? So Krishna kind of like a father, sometimes the kid wants something, and a father or mother that gives the child something knowing that that thing is not going to bring happiness, but still does it so that the child can become mature and say, okay, I'm not going to eat so much ice creams, or I'm not going to eat chocolates all day. Okay, I will, like through realization, we come to the point of surrender, not just out of fear that, oh, if I don't surrender, I'm going to suffer. Sometimes that suffering can take us a long way.
That's such a nice, share, Mataji.
Okay, we can continue reading from here. Anyone else likes to read? Take over. Okulila or Rasastali Mataji, either of you, if you like, please continue reading.
Okay. As the sun set, a gentle breeze carried the sweet aroma of champaka flowers into the clearing at Naimishanya, where Sutta addressed the sages. The chatter of birds returning to their nests filled the air. Sutta returned to Shaunaka. My dear Brahmin, since Vidura is a great devotee and Maitreya is an authorized speaker in the line of great teachers, Vidura experienced transcendental bliss by hearing this history. Shaunaka sighed. He too felt wonderfully uplifted. Is such bliss always experienced when devotees hear the Lord's pastime from an authoritative source? Sutta glowed with happiness. What to speak of Krishna's pastimes? We can also feel ecstasy when we hear of his pure devotees' glories. Dear sages, please consider Krishna's kindness. Just by hearing about him or his pure devotees, you can be delivered from all misery. Even an animal is freed from suffering if it somehow or other remembers Krishna. The sages murmured in surprise. Krishna delivers even an animal who remembers him. Noting their disbelief, Sutta said, once the Lord delivered Gajendra, the king of elephants. He was bathing in a lake surrounded by cow elephants. An alligator seized his leg. His mates cried loudly. Realizing he could not release himself from danger, Gajendra meditated on Krishna's lotus feet. Immediately the Lord appeared and saved him. The sages looked at each other in wide-eyed amazement. Sutta cheerfully said, what grateful soul would not render loving service to such a great master as Lord Krishna? My dear friends, he is easily pleased by anyone who serves him with a simple and grateful heart. However, he does not listen to the prayers of the unrighteous. Shaunaka looked perplexed. If someone prays to Krishna for help, how can he be considered unrighteous? Sutta explained that such people never appreciate the benefits they derive by Krishna's grace. They enjoy natural resources like sunshine, food, water given by Krishna. Yet they are not grateful. Rather, they ask for more. When all their material desires are not answered, they doubt the Lord and stop worshipping Him. Such people are no better than thieves. A hush descended on the assembly. Many remembered instances when they had felt dissatisfied with their circumstances. At such times, They had sometimes doubted Krishna's munificence, their faces contorted in anxiety. Surely they too were guilty of such ingratitude. Sutta reassured them, by taking pleasure in hearing or narrating Krishna's pastimes, such as I have just related, one personally associates with him. This purifies you all sins, even that of killing a Brahmin. The sage's expressions relaxed. How important it was to hear about Krishna, his incarnations, or his pure devotees. Sutta added, the sacred narrative I have just recounted about the killing of Hiranyaksa will confer on anyone who listens to it extraordinary merit. If one desiring material benefits regularly hears it, he will attain wealth, fame, longevity, and all desired objects. If a warrior regularly hears it, he will become powerful in battle. If one listens to it at the time of death, he is immediately transferred to the Lord's supreme abode.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Such a benediction. So merciful. I was in Melkote. This is the self-manifested deity of Lord Nrsingadev. It's a Yoga Narasimha Swami. And a few years ago, there was a theft. Some thieves somehow made it up the hill. They hid themselves in a clever way while the pujaris went down. Everything was locked, but then they brought some weapons and all, and they somehow or another broke into the doors inside, and they stole a lot of gold and silver pots and everything of Nrsingadev. And then there was like a long story of how these thieves went to a jeweler and they melted those gold and silver, and they took the money, right? And then they went away. And then the jeweler had some dream and all strange things were happening to him, and he actually came forward and he confessed that, oh, I had those um, mm, pots, like jewelry. And then, but the government somehow or another didn't accept, because the jeweler, the way he made it, the silver pots and golden ornaments were not exact replica, because he tried his best to recreate, right? But he couldn't do the exact. And the government, they're very particular about it should look the same, it should whatever. So they said, no, it's not looking the same. We don't want it. You only keep it. And then I was speaking with like one of the head priests, and I said, oh, I didn't know that. I knew that they recovered, and I knew all the mystical story behind how they came forward, etc. But I didn't know the fact that it wasn't returned actually to the temple. The pujaris were affected that, oh, they didn't give it back. But of course, what is it for Nrsingadev, right? And then the head priest looked at me and he said, look, the thief who did the theft must have done it with a lot of faith. So that's why, the faith of the thieves also counts in. And then we were standing there on the hill doing darshan. And then my husband looked at a bunch of guys who were there to take darshan. They were inside taking darshan. And then we were both looking at them. Those guys really looked like rowdies, like bad guys, bad boys. One of those that you'll see on the street. My husband said, when we see them on the street, they'll be on these big, big bikes and, with the gold chains and smoking and, watching people go and watching women in a strange way. That's how we see them when we see them outside in the world. And then they were there in front of Lord Nrsingadev, folded palms, head hanging down, completely, like you could see that they totally accept the Lord as the master. Whatever may be their character defects, whatever may be their profession, whatever may be their weaknesses, ultimately, they really take shelter of the Lord. So yeah, both these instances made me realize, like, the Lord has his own ways to judge who is a devotee, who is righteous, who is unrighteous. The Lord has his own ways to make, like the priest told me, the head priest said, well, the thief must have done this theft with such great faith that the Lord said, let him succeed, let him succeed in this. And yeah, we judge people according to our own measurements of what is righteous, what is unrighteous, but Krishna has his way of putting people through the test. That famous pastime where we will end with this. Okay. So there's a famous pastime. There was a Brahmana who had a prostitute living next door to him as a neighbor. And this Brahmana would be obviously engaged in his Brahminical activities and chanting and doing yagyas and everything. And every day he would watch from his window, right in front of the front porch window, he could see the prostitute activities. So, she would be going about her business, and he would be looking, and he'll do his pujas, right? But then he'll look through the window and say, chi, what a disgrace, this lady, she's engaged in this nonsense, like that. He would be judging and criticizing her and going about his business of chanting and doing his thing. So this went on and on and on. And then at one point when death came, actually the Yamaraj came to take him and not her. And then when the Yamaraj came in, he said, excuse me, I think you made a mistake. You're supposed to take my neighbor, that prostitute, not me. I'm a Brahmana. I've dedicated all my life for Brahminical activities. So you're doing a mistake here. And then the Yamaduta said, ha, ha, ha. No, we're not doing any mistake here. Although you were engaged in a bodily level, you were engaged in your Brahminical activities, your mind and your consciousness was fixed on her activities. So actually you got all the, reactions, all the reactions of whatever this prostitute was performing, you get it. And what she was doing, she was actually watching you through her window, thinking how fortunate this Brahmana is. He's always engaged in the Lord's service, and he's always performing service and devotion. He's so beautiful. So she was constantly meditating upon your activities. So she gets the benefit of what you were doing, and you get the benefit of not benefit, the opposite of what she was doing. So here it goes, they said. So the point is, we can be performing sattvic services in the mode of goodness externally, but our consciousness may be in tamas or rajas. So we should be very careful to judge people by our actions or our externals. We never know whose consciousness is above whose. The Purandaradasa, one of our great acharyas, says the conclusion of this story. Don't focus on the external of the pot. If the internal of the pot is contaminated or it's dirty, holding the water in that pot, the water is also contaminated. So don't just focus on your externals of what you're doing or how you appear. Focus on your consciousness, focus on what's happening inside. Where is your mind? Where is your focus? Are we able to take shelter of Krishna, or are we busy judging other people, putting ourselves on a pedestal and thinking that we are superior, like that? So this point here about how can an animal also find mukti is confirmed by these stories. There are several other pastimes we can actually think of, but very important, very, very important to purify our consciousness. So we can end here for today and continue tomorrow, the 20th chapter of the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Maitreya and Vidura continue their discussion. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Vrinda ki jai, Purushottam ki jai.
Jai. Hari, Hari, Hari.
Hari
Have a,
Bol.
have a great evening and have a great day. Rasastali Mataji, Hari Paul. See you tomorrow.
Hari, Hari.